Hey everyone, this is this is fine. I'm Sam.
Erik. Today is definitely not fine.
Today's not fine. Eric, why is today not fine?
I have like the stock market ticket on like a ticker on like the side of my screen, just to
Uh-huh.
see what's happening, and it's sad. It's
Big
like
big
it's
gap down. Big gap down.
yeah, definitely not great, and it's easy to laugh about, but these are people's retirements, and these are
Yeah.
people's like livelihoods and what they have built out,
I love how
and
Jay has brought up the CNN markets thing, and currently we're at in the sentiment indicator we're at 12 on the scale, which is extreme fear.
extreme value. Can
Yeah.
we get it to zero?
I think Trump's going to test it out. We're going to see
I
how it
think
goes.
it and, like, I don't care about rising prices, I don't care about this other stuff, and, like but, like, I got elected to make sure that we could buy bananas or whatever, and it's just like, we're the world's richest economy. Of course we're consumers, right, of things, like, we don't
Yeah.
grow bananas in the United States, so, yeah, we have a trade deficit with Costa Rica because they grow bananas.
Well, I think it's important to recognize that that our currency is the reserve currency for the world. And if you look back through history, there have been other countries before ours who had the status of being the reserve currency. And when you are the reserve currency, when your country holds the reserve currency status, you're going to end up being more of a consumer economy because it is natural that then countries start to peg their currency to yours in a way that advantages because you have the ability to basically borrow unlimited money as the country with the world's reserve currency status. You then end up uh, structuring your economy around everybody in that country being wealthy in comparison to other countries, and
Mhm,
therefore you it everybody will start pegging their currency, like I said, to yours in a way that makes it easy for them to market their goods to your consumer economy, advantageous for their country. And so this is like something that is natural, and it's not like good or bad. It just is. And so I think like the really striking thing here is that if Trump is saying that he doesn't want us to be the consumer economy and wants us to be more focused on being the producer or like self-sufficient, what he's really saying is that he doesn't want us to have reserve currency status anymore because those two things are mutually exclusive. You cannot be one without the other. Does that make sense?
yeah, that makes sense, I mean, like, I do think that it's like this like really I don't think that there's like a lot of real deep theory behind this because like
Well, he
they've
doesn't
made
understand
three
that necessarily.
excuses as
Yeah.
to why they're doing this. Like, one, we need to bring manufacturing back to the United States, and then we're going to have these high paying jobs that existed in the 80s that no longer exist. Two, it's a negotiating tactic in order to get better deals, and I think that that's partly true.
Yeah.
Say what
That's
you
possible.
will about Carville, but he said the other day that Trump really likes to have people that call him and try to wheel and deal, and you know, evidence shows that might be true. And then the third thing that they say that they want to do with this is like they want to raise revenue, right? And so all
That's
three of
bullshit.
those things are mutually exclusive,
Yeah.
right? Like, you can't, if you're reshoring manufacturing, that means you can't be raising revenue, right?
Exactly. That's
And
my
like,
point.
yeah, because you're not tariffing the goods that are being brought in, so like that argument dies. And if it's a negotiating tactic, then those other two things are not true. And like, so all these things sort of fall apart under a house of cards. And like, you look at like how they calculated this stuff, like, did they ask ChatGPT like, how do I
Yeah.
do trade imbalances? And like, we're shooting ourselves in the face. I mean, like, it's nuts. Like, I was scrolling through Wall Street Bets this morning,
Uh-huh.
and it's like all like the red tiles and everything, and everyone's freaking out. But I did notice that Campbell's Soup is doing quite well today.
Uh-huh.
Um, so like the soup lines are like the where they're going, and
That
like
that's super fucked up.
it is super fucked up, right? And like, the like it just doesn't make any sense. Like, so we're gonna slap 54% tariffs on China, like, and then also Southeast Asia, which we've been spending the last like decades trying to build up as a counter.
Yes, right,
Uh,
right, right. Yeah, exactly. It's again, it's increasing Chinese power.
that's literally
Yeah,
what we're doing. We're just like
yeah.
handing things to China. We're handing things to
That is
Russia.
literally what this is. Yeah.
The only country not tariffed, by the way, China is Russia, North Korea. Is Iran on there? No. So the axis of evil is the only
Well,
people we're not punishing.
okay. There's so many ways to go with this. I can't even keep it all straight. So yes, and I would say that there's like he he's got like, I think it is all mutual exclusive. So I'm not sure what he's actually thinking.
He wants
First
people
of
to call him.
but and that like marginally, like maybe he can get marginally a better deal for us, right? Like, so it's plausible that all this chaos could result in like a slightly different, like, let's say he's able to get like 10% better terms for us in like a trade deal.
Mhm.
Okay, great, like great, but like, was that really worth all this? Like, in terms of the lost economic activity that we're going to see over the next several months as this all plays out, and then number two, and also lost reputation for the United States as being any kind of reliable negotiator, because we're not.
That's the big thing, right? Like, it's like how can you trust? Like, it's not going to take like we win in 28 and suddenly like we're back, right?
No, no, no.
It,
Everybody knows that American democracy is a joke, and
yeah,
like, and which means that, and if American democracy is a joke, it means that you cannot trust any any deal made with one administration is going to last to the next, and that is a huge problem for the United States moving forward. We're just not reliable, and if you look at, like, it's very plausible. I think there's one of two potentials here. Either Trump is just sort of like doing what he feels is right without really a lot of thought put into it, or like future thought. Like,
he's a goldfish.
maybe he just thinks that like he's going to bring back manufacturing jobs. That's really stupid. When as these like if for every industrial plant that we put back in the United States right now, it's a modern industrial plant, which is going to be trying to future proof for fucking AI. So like, every single modern industrial plant that comes in is going to be 10% of the jobs that it was before it left in the 80s or whatever, right?
Yeah,
This is not going to grow trade union membership significantly. Like, it
not at
will
all.
marginally, maybe 10%. Maybe what percent of the union is, what percent of the country is trade union right now? Trade union member. Let's check
I
that out.
mean, it's gotten really low. I mean, like it used to be upwards of like 30 and now it's like like 12. I don't know. I might be pulling
Trade
those
union
numbers out of my
membership
ass.
US 9.9% in 2024. Okay, so let's say
It's
that
going down every year. So
so so, so let's say that he's able to bring back a lot of jobs. Let's say he's able to double that, okay? Which is would be pretty massive. It's
yeah,
still only 20% of like, it's still only, let's see, an additional 10% of workers, right? So like, it's going to be marginally super impactful on people who don't have college degrees. There's going to be like an initial bonanza of helping those folks get jobs, and it'll be really good, stable stuff for them. But like, it's not going to remake the American economy. Like, the like,
no, he
it's
just
like, it's just a reversion to the mean. We've gotten really consumer economy, so he's reverting back to like the trend line, and then it's going to dip again. There's going to be no. This is not a restructuring the economy around non college jobs. It's just another blip on the radar of the long term 300 to 500 year trend of increases in education being linked to uh, increases in productivity and in economic mobility. Right? Like, does he think he's going to kill college and be like make everything reliant on non college people? That's not going to happen, right? So that's number one, and then number two, uh, like, if you just look at like what is I have to think that if it's
one.
either that he's just his thinking is just stopping there, or it's a bet that the rest of the world is going to end up in World War III, because you cannot like purposely isolate the US and think that that's a good potential long-term strategy for us, like vis-a-vis China, what we're talking about, like we're basically short-term, he's like no knowingly and on purpose increasing Chinese power worldwide compared to us. He's like increasing their position as a potential rival to the US on purpose. Like he couldn't be doing that if he's assuming that he is thinking strategically. He couldn't be doing that unless he was betting that China and a bunch of other people who are potential world powers end up in a shooting war with each other and flatten each other. Like that's the only conclusion I can come up with, because that's the only reason why you want to exit the system.
Yeah, and
Right?
the point
Why would
I
you
would
want to
add,
exit?
here is that like he fired the National Labor Relations Board. The NLRB is dead, right? And it's
Right,
stacked with
right.
his people, and like the ability to unionize is gone, right? Like the ability to like to enforce union elections and
Right.
whatnot. Do you think that the owners of these factories are going to bring them in? And then secondary to
No,
that
you're right.
is what business is going to invest billions of dollars in building a new AI factory when the whims of the president change based on which way the wind's blowing,
That's a
right?
very
Like,
good point.
so why would you invest like $80 billion, whatever the hell it is, to build a modern manufacturing plant when in 2 years all of this might go away? So it's not like the timeline horizon is very short. It's like, normally you would say, okay, well, in 2 years, this thing will come back. Well, does a business trust that the policy won't change in 2 years? I mean, he's been shown to have these whims, and it's just
Yeah.
crazy. Like this is confirming this guy Eldridge Colby, who's a big proponent of this. Like, we need to abandon Europe and look at China as our main competitor in the world. Like, well, we're making his job a lot harder because we're empowering China,
Yeah.
and also we're abandoning Europe, and basically Putin is going to try to march
That's our
across
biggest market. That's our big. If we're producing all this fucking shit,
500 million
where
people.
why if we're producing all this bullshit at home, all this like manufactured goods, where are we expecting? Are we expecting the American market to soak that up alone? That's and yes, you're right. Like there are going to be no union jobs. No,
No,
these are going to be jobs that used to be union, and that they're not even going to have collective bargaining anymore. They're not going to support families. There's no way, unless you have collective bargaining, none of these jobs are going to support a family. None.
no, we're going to be Argentina. Like, this is basically what it is. And like, so like, and I think I might have said this on stream before, but like in the 1950s, the Peronists came to power. Like, like there's like, no llores por mi Argentina.
Yeah.
Like Eva Perón, big populist, and they instituted import substitution industrialization, where they were going to tariff the hell out of everything and like build manufacturing there. Well, everything they built was worse, and like,
Of
because they
course.
don't have the expertise of building these things, so they're starting from zero. People didn't want the products. The economy cratered, and then you had the military junta that came in because everything was like hell, and it's still hell. Like, Malay is like launching meme coins and is in the middle of an impeachment investigation and all this other stuff. And you go to Buenos Aires or like wherever, Cordoba, and like you get in the taxi and it's driven by someone with a PhD usually. And like that's where we're heading, right? Like, we're massacring public health right now. And my wife works in public health, right? And we're letting go like that the lead researcher in Parkinson's disease that is like made huge progress, like cancer research. Like, everyone is affected by cancer. Everyone, like, I lost my grandmother to cancer, right? Like, the fact that we would cut that off, which is the engine of our profitability, is insane. And it's all because they're mad at public health experts during the pandemic making people stay home, right? And that we tried to save a couple million lives. And how is that beneficial to us, right? And like, yeah, we're mad that you made us stay in with my children, and that everyone's working from home now, and that we can't control what our employees do at the office. And so
All about
right,
control.
it's all about control. It's all about control. They want to control you.
They
Like,
want
they
to be
want
like
to,
China. They want to
they,
be like China. They want to create a social credit system here.
yeah, I think that's exactly right. It's insane. It's insane. And like, how does that benefit? How does that make eggs cheaper? How does that make your life easier? How does that make my kids' future brighter? how am I providing for my family, right? And in this world where professional white collar jobs are dependent on like Elon Musk, like the
But that's
ketamine
another
muppet.
thing. That's another thing, right? Another reason why companies shouldn't believe this policy is because everyone knows that Elon Musk is the real president. Everyone knows that Elon Musk has business in China that he's going to protect using the power of the government and his blackmail over the president. He's probably blackmailing Trump over something right now. We don't know. This is all
It has to
speculation.
be.
But look at what's happening right now. He's definitely something's going on over there, right? And we don't know what it is.
But
And
he's leaving though. He's leaving Doge supposedly.
oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Zuckerberg just bought a $23 million mansion to be like, right here in DC.
Oh really? Did he?
Yeah, he just
Well,
bought a
there you go.
23. Like he was in the West Wing the other day, so it's gonna be like a revolving character
That,
of these fucking chodes.
right, but and these people who have business in China, right? So why would you trust that Donald Trump is going to pursue any kind of coherent strategy to oppose China in any way when he's being dog walked around on a fucking leash by billionaires, the only people who he admires more than himself, who are people who are richer than him, and they're dog walking his fucking policies. And going to make us subservient to China on purpose so that they can make money. That's what's happening right now.
I think that's true, and the Zuckerberg thing sort of scares me because that book, that tell-all book that came out, which they ran the worst public affairs effort ever in trying to block, and just like gave it millions of dollars of free marketing. Facebook worked with the Chinese government in order to build surveillance systems.
Of course they did.
And do all these things. So are they going to do that here? And they're going to try to surveil us and whatnot? I don't think Americans will will stand for that. I mean, well,
I'm not going to. I'm going to pursue technologies that allow me to retain my privacy. And I'll just say for the record, if the Democrats ever were to propose something that approached a social credit system, I'd leave the fucking Democratic Party. So I would hope that any good free speech loving piece of shit Republican would do the fucking same.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to be I don't want to be a number. I don't want to be that's not who America is.
No,
I'm getting all Rage Against the Machine. I was listening to the Sirius radio after I picked up my kids the other day, and Killing in the Name of came out.
Yes.
I completely forgot.
I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
I forgot that the radio, that Sirius doesn't bleep it out. So I have my 12-year-old, 9-year-old, and 2-year-old in the car. And it gets to that part and it's like, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. And I'm like, whoa, shit.
And they're like, Dad, should I say that to you?
I know. I was no. Don't listen to Zach De La Roca.
This is about you and your government, not about
the government, not the house,
not the house,
not the house. And it's eat your al pastor tacos, buddy. Fuck you! I won't do what you tell me. I don't know.
That is the vibe, though, Eric. That is the vibe. I feel that really hard right now. That Rage Against the Machine has never been more relevant or more accurate, and I would hope never had more broad appeal than they would have right now. So
Tom Morello has been killing it.
Let's see if they do a reunion tour or something, because we need one right about now.
We definitely need one. We need to channel this anger, and we got to channel it into fighting for who we are. Righteous anger, right? There's so much righteous anger out there, and you look at look at it the elections. Okay, so Wisconsin, we swung at 11 points. The Florida seats are 20 and 15 points that we swung to our direction. It's 2 months, right? So people are not super excited, right? They don't like this. And part of it is that our voters tend to be more high information voters. And so they're super angry right now, right? And they're coming, and that's a motivating factor. So that's where we're coming in. That's where we're coming through. If you look at the landscape of the House, there are 55 seats more than that Republicans won by 15 points or less.
Yeah.
Right? So it can be a bloodbath, right? So it could be, right? And really what the administration is doing is they think they have a year before Republicans probably start turning on them, because politicians aren't exactly profiles in courage all the time, unless
they're never profiles in courage. They're the biggest followers in the universe. So especially House members. They got no balls. The house, no
Yeah,
balls.
tiny little microscopic little balls,
Yeah,
and like like whatnot. But like then like the person that like people make fun of, Cory Booker, for being like so love and PC, is the one who has the biggest balls, right? And
yep,
it gets out there and like does this work and like stands there for 24 hours, right? And like speaks 25, beats like that fucking segregationist asshole Strom Thurmond, and like is had the crazy eyes, right? Like I couldn't believe he was doing interviews afterwards, like on camera,
yeah.
and, like after not sleeping for that long. Like he must have been tripping balls. Like I bet like little
Yeah.
bluebirds floating around and like
Yeah, well, for those of you who are watching who don't know, I worked for Cory Booker for a few years. I worked for him when he was the mayor of Newark, running for the Senate, and then I followed him to the Senate and worked in his Senate office right as he was setting it up. And he's a really amazing guy. I would say, like, first of all, this isn't the first time he's done this. This is not the first time he's done a talking filibuster. And I do think that there are ways that senators and other people who want to do stuff like this, who want to who want to exhibit their ability to speak as a way to drive attention and action. There are ways you can do it online and do it live in a way that will drive even more attention and more action, right? But but this was a really good example of the type of stuff that he likes to do, and he's really good at it, right? And the reason why is he actually has a spiritual practice.
yeah,
He meditates. He is grounded in, and I would say not even faith. I would say like a personal relationship with God. For those of you who are interested, just Google the podcast he did with Krista Tippett of On Being, which is it's like a spiritual podcast a few years ago. That'll get you to understand who he is really, and so this is not out of character for him. This is how he acts when he feels called, and I've seen him. This is how he operates. He will decide. He will wait. He will like he has this energy that he gathers around him, and then he'll decide when to channel it and how. And it like I think his like love and peace stuff, it's I think it's fallen flat a lot because he's so consistent with it, and I think that we've been conditioned to be so cynical that that it falls flat when people don't believe it, right? When people say either they don't believe that he's sincere or they don't believe that it's possible, right?
yeah,
But he is consistent on this in the same way that Bernie Sanders is consistent on socialism. He is consistent on love being the motivating force behind the universe. And so, like, if you're into that and you actually start to believe, if you're believing that we can move to a more love-based world, as I do, then you should follow him as I do and believe in him. And more people, I think, should be turning to like again, this is when I talk a lot about it. I've talked about this a few times about developing your personal power and sovereignty of yourself, and then channeling that in once you have self mastery, moving into the world with that and pushing your energy out into the world through your own actions.
yeah.
And that's the model that he taught, and that's why that's like the path that I ended up on because I watched him do it. And more people should be doing that out there right now. Like that's how we all should be acting in order to take back our country and make sure that we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree, right? Like, I think that I said this in a podcast I did a while back, but the answer to toxicity and hate is empathy and love. And like I might
Yeah,
be screaming, fuck you, don't do it. I won't do what you tell me at the same
yeah,
time. But I do think that like the way forward is this way.
mhm,
And I think that I also, I mean, this is something that Democrats I sometimes I feel miss because like we can tend to be very individualistic at times. But like people are dying for community, right? And like
yeah,
they're dying for connection, and they're finding that in church. And like, what's a higher calling, and what's my purpose? Purpose. And the like one of the most important things like I have found for my happiness in general is like how do I separate myself from my ego and like what I want to do at all
mhm,
times, because like that's what like I'm a fucking hothead, right? Like I get like mad or like upset about things pretty quickly. And it's really important for me to like, okay, well, how do I separate that self from me? How do I do what's actually best instead of like whatever I want to do in that moment? Because oftentimes that's like my reptile brain or whatever that's like trying to go
Right.
for instant gratification in what I want right now. And that's not the long term path to happiness. Like if I'm yelling at my kids because like they did something wrong, like the long term of that is like I lose trust with my children, right? And like I'm like a raging asshole. And I don't want to be that way. I want my kids to be happy. I want them to be disciplined and all these other things and like not like and set boundaries. But if I give in to like what I'm feeling in every single moment, things go bad for me, right? And they generally go bad pretty quickly, right? And like because I don't know, like not everything is about me, and like my default is to think that like it might be, and that someone is doing something because they want to piss me off, or like I know they hate me, or like that person doesn't like me, or like if everyone just did what I said, like everything would be great, and like
Hmm.
the world doesn't work like that, right? Like, if you ever try to tell someone what to do, they don't like it, right? And like, so like we got like, it's like, how do I approach things differently so that I am not like the center of the world, right? Like we are the center of the world. Like my family, my friends, like people in this country, like they are like we're Americans, and I believe that like that's why I believe so like thoroughly that like this country is worth fighting for, and even
Absolutely.
like people that are like that are Trump supporters, right, and whatnot, they're not bad people. They're scared and they have these other things going on. And like, how do I approach that in a way that's constructive, right?
Right.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was blathering, so like,
No, that was beautiful, Eric, and it really made me think about something that I think about a lot, especially the lizard brain stuff. Right, like I think that actually one of the biggest dividing lines in politics right now. Not, I'm not. This isn't like total and complete, right? Like I think that um, I think that there's like it's there's some overlap here that I'm gonna talk about, but it's not like 100% overlap, right? But I think one of the biggest dividing lines in culture around politics today is between people who believe in higher mind, right? Like believe in the possibility of caring about other people, believe in the possibility uh like um of like releasing emotional pain that's inside of you, and that change is possible for your own inner world, right? Like between those people, broadly we can say, like, for example, like people who believe that therapy works, or like believe in going to therapy, right?
yeah.
uh that on
Oh. I think we got an internet hiccup for Sam.
basically believe that think that we're lying when we say that we care about other people, and they think that we're lying about anything that has nothing to do, that's not self-interest, that is all fake, and we're something we're telling ourselves that we feel like a good person, but really we're all self-interested. and
Hmm.
and they also believe that change is not possible, and that the path to salvation is just to embrace being weak and tell God, I'm a sinner, Jesus, somebody died for my sins or whatever, and but I have no power to improve my life. I'm powerless. I'm just going to keep committing sin and keep getting forgiven and going to heaven because I believe in Jesus, right? That kind of Christianity is so, it's like basically embrace the lizard brain. It's saying there is no possible direction other than this. And I think the reason why the right has gotten so big, like, again, I'm speaking in generalities here. Like, I'm really talking about the online right. It's like the people who've really embraced that like toxic brew, and not just people who vote for Trump broadly, of which there are like millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people. The people who are like part of the online right, they're people who they're like they think that we're hypocrites for even believing. Like, of course we all have lizard brains too. Our like higher minds are built on top of the lizard brain, And so they're trying to constantly trigger our lizard brains to prove that we're not better than them,
Mhm.
right? But I think what needs to happen is that they need to understand that this isn't fake. It's uh and that it's available for them too,
Yeah,
right? That
it
it's
totally. I mean, we're
available for
all
them too.
flawed. I'm so
Yeah.
flawed. I am a very flawed human being, right? Like, I get mad, I get angry, I snap, I do these things, and like, it's just not that. Like, I do think that sometimes like we try to take that moral high ground, oftentimes in our communication, and say like on the left, like it's like I'm better than you because I believe these things, right? And like
Mhm.
sometimes that's like what they try to trigger, and I mean, it's just like it's one of the flaw. It's one of our flaws, right? It's like one of the things. Like we're not necessarily better
No, 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 no.
than them.
We're not at all better. And but I think that it's on us to say to them, we are the same. I have the same lizard brain that you have, and also you have the same frontal lobe and neocortex that I have, right? And you can activate that, and it'll actually make your life better if you
Yeah,
live in service to others, and not in service of self and not in survival mode. The feeling of abundance and thriving is available to you too, and all you have to do is change your mind, and it will literally all arrive in your life.
yeah,
And I'm not sure that they understand. I just think that a lot of people don't believe in that, and the people who are skeptical about that are ending up going Republican right now, and
yeah,
it's really evident why. If you look at the Trump policies right now, it's fucked
yeah.
up.
And I mean, like, and part of it is like I do think that um it is what is communicated out there, and I think there are some structural things like no, you're not right. Of course, people want to feel like validated, right? So like if they feel that way and they get that reinforced in what they're watching, it's going to drive them deeper into a hole, and that's why it's like harder to pull them out, and reach those people. But I do think it's worth trying, and I do think, um, I mean, I do like I just think that like the way I try to make center myself,
Mhm.
especially when I do get egocentric or angry, is like how could I help another person sometimes, and like as someone else who's struggling with, and like share my struggles with them and whatnot, and like help that person gets me out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And for me, what I do is I breathe, and then I follow the body sensation in my body to find what part of my body is like having some kind of sensation involved with that emotion, and then just sit with that awareness of that body sensation for a while and just let it be. And when I get done with that, I end up usually in a space where I'm able to think a little more clearly. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, but like I love your process, man. I'm just really glad that we connected and are able to work together because we have a lot of the same perspectives in common, and I think it's these are perspectives that are needed for the world. So
yeah,
uh,
I love it.
yeah,
I'm pretty happy.
mm,
I mean, it's. I mean, like everything is hard, right? Like
yeah,
I can't like everything. Like, my kids are hard. My marriage is hard. Like work is hard. People yell and like get mad at me for like whatever I say on the internets, right? And like,
mhm,
um, and sometimes it's easy to feel like you're in a bunker, but
yeah,
no one
survival.
really is, and
No,
like yeah, like there's always a hand there to pull you out if you need it, right?
yeah, and I think it's important that we acknowledge as Democrats that no one's coming to save us, right? Like we're not going to rely on the government to save us, even though we believe in the power of government to help people. And also, Trump is not going to save any of the people he's promised to save. No
Mm-mm.
one is coming to save us. We're going to save ourselves. That's what
Yeah,
this is.
save ourselves. And like and I think that that's a really, I mean, that's something that I think a lot of like right leaning things sort of, you know I mean, that's sort of the mentality of like it's up to that they have in a lot of their communications, right? And like
Hmm.
how that they look down on the left as saying that like you're super individualistic, it's all about like this like meritocracy that doesn't exist, and like there's like it's everything's stacked against me. um and I mean, I understand why people feel that way, like
Yeah.
oftentimes, right?
Yeah. What other news should we cover? So okay, we spent a little time talking about Elon Musk. Who's the biggest loser of the day? Elon Musk. Why? Because he poured 200 whatever $1 million into Wisconsin, tried to buy the race, and lost.
Yeah, I think it was the $21 million.
Okay. I was way off.
257 for the presidential.
Got
So he
it.
spent
Okay.
like 1/10 of it, right? So like basically at the same level that he was spending at the presidential per state.
Wow.
And it sort of just goes to the fact that like a lot of politics is emotionality, and like expressions of that emotionality. But like how do you make it like
15 million.
jumping around with a cheesehead in Green Bay, like the one community-owned football team in America? Like what did you do to earn calling yourself a cheesehead? Like and then giving $1 million checks to like the college Republican president.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
like what a tool.
And
What?
also meanwhile, while you've just fired probably tens of thousands of Wisconsinites who are
Yeah.
federal workers.
Like no, I mean like that's
Like
smarmy little face.
what are you thinking? What and I can tell you what I think he was probably thinking. I think he probably realizes that now that he's lost this race, that he's going to be identified as the drag on the Republican tickets nationwide. And so there's going to be, I would imagine, if let's assume for the moment that Trump isn't being blackmailed by Elon, which we have no idea. Again, this is all total speculation. Those of you who would be interested in that, we're speculating. There's something going on, some reason why Trump hasn't kicked Elon out yet. We don't know what that reason is, but now I would assume that after it's become very very clear that Elon is the problem, reputationally for the Republicans, I would anticipate that there's going to be probably a lot of talks happening in Republican circles about what to do about Elon.
Yeah, I think that that's right. I mean, it doesn't mean that like he's still going to be there with his money to
Yeah.
go against any Republican that challenges Trump. Um,
But if you're going to get kicked out of the White House, like actually like hanging out with like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
are
he
they going to
might.
want to distance him? Are they going to want to distance themselves from him? He may
I mean,
actually work at this point.
politically, yeah,
Yeah.
right. But like then he's going to be like Darth Sidious and like the background, like pulling strings. I right as an operative, I like having him be really public and
Yeah.
and whatnot.
I mean, he has been the biggest PR disaster for them.
Mhm. Yeah,
I'm struggling to think of a worse hated public figure in recent memory. That's happened so fast, right? Like he used to be kind of beloved, like even a few years ago. Like I didn't know a lot of people who didn't like him, even like 3-4 years ago.
yeah,
I mean, he was sort of like getting weird and like doing stuff that people in like buttoned up suits were like, I don't know about his smoking pot on Joe Rogan, or like I don't know that
yeah.
he's like playing around with crypto or like whatever. But like you could tell he was all sort of in it for the fun. And now like he's gone from being like known as the friendly inventor who wants to get us to Mars to like the guy who's scheming to force you to put an AI chip in your brain so he can control you. Like, how
Yeah.
long did it take for him to have that downfall? That's crazy.
I know. It's like P. Diddy, Puff Daddy. Like,
Yeah. So was he like this the whole time, and we just didn't know?
I mean, I don't think so.
You think he's
I think
changed?
that what happens is when you're that rich and powerful, and everybody's saying yes to everything that you say and laughing at all your jokes, as soon
Yeah.
as he feels like I invented an industry in electric cars, I did this. Only I like, and the government is coming after me,
Right. Right.
and
It's
like
very similar to Trump, actually.
it's all ego. It's all
Yeah.
ego.
Yeah.
He felt like he did so much for America, and America screwed him, or the government screwed him. So I'm going to take it down. I mean, like that's who he's gone after. He's cut all the agencies that
Regulator.
regulate any of one of his businesses.
Yeah. And funnel
So
government contracts to his businesses that he feels like should have gone to his businesses.
yeah, exactly. And like he's like putting Starlink like on the roof of the White House, a completely insecure system, and like meanwhile you look at Europe and they're
I didn't
looking
hear
at like
about
a
that. That's
replacement.
weird.
I know. You look at Europe and they're like, we're going to have a replacement within months. And
Yeah, because Starlink isn't actually that hard to build. I'm sure. I mean,
no,
like it's like many countries launch satellites. This is not a
It's not a unique. Like generally, it's
No.
been in concert with the United States space industry, which is
Yeah,
launching
exactly.
them in, and
He's
like
piggybacked off of the United States' existing public infrastructure on space travel, not the other way around.
yeah, he makes $8 million a day in tax money, and like I mean, like I don't think we can ever say that away. The U.S. government pays Elon Musk company $8 million a day. And meanwhile, he's like, yeah, screw you, kids with cancer. And
Can we
I'm
just
like,
like can we just do like a defund Musk bill? Because I
I
don't
mean,
think
that
that
would be
most people
great.
know that. I don't know that. I don't think that most people know that the United States is paying Elon Musk with our tax money. So like that that would be like a really good rallying cry. And it would be so easy to do because it's government money. So
Yeah, it's
we
defund
could just
Musk.
and how could Republicans really defend it? Like it's like, don't you say you want to get rid of government spending that's wasteful? How could you say that anything Elon Musk has ever done is anything that's not wasteful? It's wasteful. It's all fucking wasteful. Going to Mars, the idea of going to Mars is wasteful.
Yeah,
Even in principle.
no,
Like,
it's
why are we
giving
going
up
to Mars? Why are we going to Mars?
because I mean, like, yeah, because we've read a lot of sci-fi books or like The
Well, it's
Martian.
probably because he's hoping that there's going to be mineral wealth there that he can extract, right? So again, why are we going to Mars?
Yeah, or he thinks that Earth is effed and like we need another planet to colonize.
We're
Or
never going to go. The human race is not going to live or die based on our ability to get to Mars. That's insane. The human race
no,
is going to live or die based on our ability to make Earth habitable for humans.
hmm yeah, I mean, like 100%. Like,
So it's so simple and so easy. Yeah.
yeah, and we just have to like do shit to make sure that we don't cook ourselves.
I mean, honestly, it's really quite simple. All that needs to happen is that the population needs to continue to fall. The global population. The thing
Well,
that
that's
Elon Musk
happening.
is trying to stop. He's upset about that, but that's actually the thing that will save the human race. Because the thing that's actually creating global warming, you can talk about fossil fuels all you want, but it's actually economic activity and growth in economic activity that creates emissions. So and the way to try to get economic activity to slow is to have what's actually happening happen, which is people need to stop having as many babies. So
Yeah, well,
and
people are worried about the future, so like we're
exactly. So,
below
like,
replacement rate.
we don't need a genius Elon Musk with billions of dollars to work on problems for us. All we need to do is just keep living and also stop consuming as much. And that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, I mean, they're gonna accomplish that.
yeah. Again, there you go. So Trump is doing something good for America. Then he like yeah. Trump is bringing down emissions by
Okay,
putting tariffs on everything.
let me just take a quick look at the stock market here. Oh,
Yeah,
great. Yeah, no, down 5%. Yep, great. Anyways,
yeah. All right. What else did we want to talk about today?
oh, I mean, like the terror. I mean, there. I mean, like I like. Okay, I think one thing is, like, did you see this thing about Laura Loomer,
Oh no, I
going to
haven't
the
seen.
White House and then like saying that we need to fire all the national security staff, and
Why?
uh, and so
Why
therefore,
did she? Why did she say that? I
like
haven't seen this.
fever swamp, reasons of
Okay,
like
guys. So
six
she's a,
senior national security officials at the urging of far right conspiracy theorist Laura Loomer. Um,
multiple firings. Okay, what, okay, but I'm so confused. Didn't didn't what is her name? The she used to be a Democrat who then is now leading the NSA. Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi
Didn't
Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard already do this? Like, what's are just like it's just firing more people? Is that what's doing?
I mean, yeah, it's just like what? Let's like bomb overseas and make everyone pissed off at us, and then like cut our national security and intelligence listening services, so we can't tell if they're going to come after us.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Yeah, fire
I mean,
specific NSC stuff. How does she even know who these people are? She like went to Trump's office and was like, "Fire these people." How does she even know who these people are? Like,
I
how
don't
does
know.
she know their names?
Yeah, no idea. Like
neocons had slipped through the vetting process for administration jobs. So it's all about the internecine war inside the Republican Party about who is sufficiently America first, right?
Yeah, no, it's like this weird, like,
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God, they are. I mean, it's like this, like, super old school populism, mercantilist, like, approach to everything, and it's not going to make us safer. It's not going to make, like,
No.
how are
And in
we going to
fact,
find the next guy that's going to drive into a crowd in New Orleans?
mercantilism was what led directly to World War One and World War Two.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's like, and then like the effect of tariffs is why is going to be 1890, like those tariffs under McKinley like led to a bloodbath for the party in charge, like Smoot Hawley in the 1929,
Yeah,
like
I didn't think about that. Actually, that tariff regime was what led to the 1929 stock market crash. I didn't even think about that, but you're
well, I
totally
think it was, I think they, like, they started recovering from the trash and crash, and then they did Smoot Hawley right after, and then like sunk us right back down, right, so like
right.
killed the recovery
Yeah,
from
that's it.
the
But
1929 crash.
right, yes, but you're right because that the Harding administration in the was it the early 1920s originally was the ones who were doing protectionist stuff, right?
Mhm.
This is back
Hoover.
they were right. This is like when the Republican Party was the protectionist party of Northeast United States industry folks.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool. All right, so like yeah, so that's so interesting.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
I hadn't thought before that we actually about how we have actually like a track record for how tariffs
every single
play
time
out
we do it,
electorally. Yeah,
every single time we do it, like, bad things happen. And the reason is, like, they're making this long-term bet, but as John Maynard Keynes said, in the long term, we're all dead, right? And Americans don't have an appetite for a year, 2 year, 3 years of struggle. And
no.
like, they just don't. Like, you can theoretically agree with that, like, it'll reshore manufacturing or whatever. But Americans don't want that, right? Like, they're worried
Well,
about today and
that's why they
tomorrow.
need to. That's why they need to kill democracy because they don't. I think that the right wing would agree with you, Eric. I think that
Mm,
if I think I've seen enough red pill shared memes about how good times make weak men to know that they would agree with that the American public don't have the stomach for this, and they would say that then the people who don't have the stomach for this pain need to be disempowered from any kind of decision making in America, and so then that's how they would justify getting rid of democracy.
yeah, it's the Washington consensus and like the neoliberal boom of like the Chicago school in the 80s, right? Like, it was like, or the late 70s, right? Like, is when
Right.
that was, and it was, well, Pinochet taking over in Chile and instituting this autocratic regime was the only way to restructure the economy away from like the bloated state run agencies that they had set up, right? So, like, the only way to institute these neoliberal reforms in a lot of these Latin American countries was to install strongmen, which the United
Right.
States created, right? So,
Right.
are they trying to do the same thing here? Well, I think that, like, they
Uh,
were producer economies that were sending stuff to us and have been ever since. Like, it's not the same situation. We are like the rich country that leads the world, and doing that here, I just think it's not going to work
it's
unless they
well,
end elections and do all these things. But thank God elections are run at
well,
the state
I,
level.
I think what they're missing is that elections aren't actually elections just formalize the power that actually resides with the public already. Right? It's just a way of smoothing the process and creating a process through which the people in the country who have power already, uh, exercise that voice in a way that's orderly, right? But like I think the reason why democracy exists at such wide scale today is not because people believe in democracy. It's because there are enough wealthy people. Like wealth is shared at a high enough spread. Like there are enough people in the bourgeoisie, right, which is sort of like the middle class, if you're thinking of like Marxist theory or whatever, that
Mm.
those people have have the ability to decide things if they all act collectively. And so the question is whether or not, what would you like these people to vote on the leadership and get them to ratify and give some kind of legitimacy to the people who are in power, or would you like them to revolt and either withhold their tax money and starve the government into death and end the regime that disregards their will that way, or collectively pool their resources and hire a mercenary army that can rival the existing state military. And I'm not suggesting that these are outcomes that I'm suggesting what should happen in the United States. I'm saying that this is theoretically and in principle how all societies across the world arrived at democracy. Is that as more and more as more and more wealth came out of the aristocracy and into a wider pool of people and started to be shared wider and wider, uh, it just it became apparent to anybody who would ever want to have power in a society that they needed to have a wider base of constituencies that they needed to pay attention to than they had previously. So I think you're right that it won't work. And it has nothing to do with them getting, they can get rid of democracy all day long if they want. That still doesn't change the underlying problem they have, which is that the tax base doesn't want what they want. And the tax base are the ones who have the power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would argue that the wealth inequality is what sort of driven this moment, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
everyone always talks about how young people aren't like as interested in democracy, or they want to see like some curtailing of speech or whatnot. And like I just don't think that's true, like necessarily.
No.
I think that what it is that they don't see it working for them, and they don't understand how they can be engaged or what their part in it is, because it's never really been sort of communicated, and
Yeah.
it's not taught in schools anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And like so people feel more and more separated from their government and like their elected leaders and whatnot. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see it in like the gerontocracy in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, and
Yeah.
like the established political forces. I mean, like old people are sticking around for a lot longer, and they're not getting the fuck out, right? And so
And they're
the
not good
path,
leaders. Old people are
they're
not
not
good
great
leaders.
leaders. Like they're leaders from the old time, and like that's why you see Gen X switch, like becoming one of the Trumpiest in the world, right? Because the
They've been
people above
waiting their
them
whole
aren't
lives.
leaving, right? And
Yeah.
they're screwed, and they're going to get passed over by millennials, right?
Yes, that's
Who
for
are going
sure
to
going to
take
happen.
those rules, take that. And then also same with like a lot of Gen Zers, right? Like the Zoomers are gonna they're gonna be stuck with like the millennials forever.
Yeah,
And that's why
they
you see
are.
all the cultural like back and forth over what style jeans you wear or whatnot, and the fights on like TikTok.
It's,
Um,
I'm amazed you wove that in, but it actually makes sense.
yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh, screw you, like, slightly older people like that are
Yeah, yeah,
gonna screw us for the long term and not make us like in power. And I mean, like, so I think it's like those are the things that at work,
yeah.
and like what we need to be thinking about, um, is like okay, like how do we fix that, right? And like what comes forward that allows people to be more engaged in the democracy and have more opportunity, right?
I think it's
Um,
crisis. I think it's crisis. I think this crisis is going to force every. I think it's going to reveal a lot of the dynamics that I was just talking about. Like I think a lot of the reason why people are no longer believers in democracy is because they think of it in this, because we've lionized the idea of democracy as if it's like this grand thing, when again it's just a reflection. It's just the most efficient way to recognize the reality of the situation, which is that the average citizen acting collectively has enough power to topple any government.
yeah,
And
I think
right, so you like, it doesn't matter how much Republicans want to you know, clobber the government, the industrial state, or get rid of Social Security and Medicare, or like any of that. It doesn't fucking matter how much they want that, because the people who they can take away your ability to vote as much as they want. You're still going to have more power than they do if you're able to even peaceably assemble, right? And then things start to get. This is why we're going to end up in a crisis, because the Republicans aren't going to be able to get what they want out of just like undermining democracy. They're going to have to tighten their grip further and further and further. And there's a certain point at which they're going to lose everyone.
Yeah, I think so. And then like, so what's the way to like create more opportunity? And like, it's like all these companies control so much of like the workforce, right? Like Google, like it was just seeing so much consolidation and everything.
Yeah.
Like media, media, right? Like one of the big things that I've been thinking about a lot is, the original sin has been like the complete deregulation of media and like the loss of local markets and like allowing like Sinclair and all these groups to own huge swaths of how people interact with like news and understand the world around them. Like, you know, what the new world order is going to need after this is like we're going to have to break all that up really, right? And give people opportunity where they live to create their own like media that we see in YouTube and a bunch of these other spots, but like what's the terrestrial things that we can be doing and like break up and actually do what is right with media and how we're communicating and give people an opportunity to be voices in their local communities. Like, tech has been like every parent I know is freaked out about like going down rabbit holes and what's available to their kids. How much tech controls like so much of our life for so little benefit in some ways.
Hmm.
And like we got to break all this stuff up and allow the young people to rebuild us.
Yes. Yeah. Just empowering young people, right? Uh, again, the pattern that I see emerging over and over and over again is trusting people to run their own lives. Trusting people, like, and I would say that both political parties are like high on the drug of not trusting people. I
Hmm.
think the Democrats, like all the older generations of Democrats, they would say, look, we believe in the wisdom of the crowd, but also they need people who are experts to like decide things for them and design programs for them. And when the Republicans talk like that about Democrats, I buy what they're saying. I agree with them. I'm like, why are we trusting these like experts who are very smart people to like to design policy that is top down without any input? It doesn't make any sense, right? And it's patronizing, like it is. And so I totally buy that argument by Republicans. And then the Republican response is what? Oh, we think people are even less trustworthy. And in fact, we want to empower religious institutions to dictate every aspect of everyone's lives for them. Like, are you kidding? Like, no, no. The solution is that all these people can be trusted to run their own lives and start there, and then everything else is just like a collective action problem of like of 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 helping people to navigate the decisions that they would make, knowing that they can be trusted to run their own lives uh in like to make decisions together, right? Like that's all that's really needed here.
Yeah.
Like people do not need people looking over their shoulder on anything.
No,
So
and like they don't need people that are morally superior talking down to them,
no.
and they don't need people that are cutting out like their ability to survive. And like so, I think
No.
pox on both of their houses on this,
Yeah.
and like let's like let the people do it. I have faith in Americans.
Yeah. Yes.
Still,
This
still,
this is
even-
this is like I think I have talked to a lot of people who voted for Trump
Mhm.
this time, and the ones who like I obviously I don't talk to a lot of people who are like hardcore MAGA, but I talk to a lot of people who voted for Trump, and they all say the reason why, and these are not like political people. They
Yeah,
say, I took one look at the system and I realized it needed to go away.
yeah.
And I cannot disagree with that. It's not that I would not have chosen this way to combust the system, right? But like can anyone take a look at what has existed up to this point and say that it didn't need to be remade?
I mean, billionaires getting billionaire, and the rest of the people are we're doing a little bit better, but I mean, like
Right.
that discrepancy is a lot, and it's like, the answer isn't like like communism, but
No.
like there needs to be a way that the benefits of society are being distributed more equally. especially when AI is about to come and murder jobs, right? And it's going to be a hugely disruptive force, and we have no plan for how we're going to go forward.
So whether or not we as Democrats agree that Trump was the right choice to lead the country, the wisdom of the crowd that the system needed to be destroyed and remade, I think, is irrefutable. Like I don't see how you can look at the system and say, like, even if we would have chosen, like, okay, well, let's empower a like social democrat who like to go in and like take things apart and put them together in a way that's like totally peaceful and like beautiful, and we're gonna like do everything perfectly, right? Like, even if that would have gone well, which I don't, it's, it's very, who knows, right? But like, can anyone say with a straight face, yes, we needed to keep protecting the institutions completely as made and moving forward? No. Okay, well then the wisdom of the crowd is intact, because that's what the crowd chose to do, the right thing, which is to dismantle the system and remake it. And so we need to embrace that now, knowing that the public is right about that, and move toward making a system that is new, that addresses people's needs now, instead of going back to something which was previously rejected and reformed because it didn't work for people anymore. Like what we want to go back to like the 1800s and say that's good. There's a reason why that didn't work in the 1800s and people rebelled against it. Do we want the French Revolution again? That's what they're asking for.
Yeah,
these are things that were settled by the French Revolution.
Yeah.
And all the monarchies and all the rich people in Europe were like, I guess we need to like do something about this, get off our fat butts and like do something, right? So do we want to end up in a situation where you've got people hungry for bread in the streets, picking up rifles and coming after us? Is that what they want? Because no, so you can't go back. You have to go forward. What's new? Like, duh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
sorry.
I would have preferred the Kamala Harris, but like approach. But
I agree. I agree. I would have preferred the Kamala Harris approach, but I would say that I think the reason this is where we are, and we need to understand that the wisdom of the crowd was smart to want to take the system down, and also that I think the reason why people would have, like, I think the public was fooled to a certain extent, in that the perception was that people like Mark Zuckerberg and other oligarchs, right, like Jeff Bezos, were nominally on the side of backing the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And so and that's why, right? Like, so if we like, like, I think the common denominator of what the public wants to end is the oligarchs, like, period.
Yeah, and I do think that that's true. Like the elitist, like, self enrichment, like, crumbs for me, for you, and like soup for me, attitude that we have. I mean, it would take $20 billion to end homelessness in America. Like, Elon Musk has $350 billion, right? And instead of doing something productive, he's taking away cancer research. He's taking away Parkinson's research. He's taking away Alzheimer's research. He's taking away our national parks. He's taking away the ability to unionize. And so it's a smoking crater, right? And like, we got to rebuild all this stuff the best of our ability. I mean, I'm not sure if we're ever going to get back to being the world leader in like cancer research, but like, especially after these cuts, and that's going to hurt us all for a very long time.
Yeah, that is true, right? Like, I don't want to be cavalier about what happens when you start cutting off long-term investments in things, because when I say the system needs to be remade, I'm not saying that it's like a good thing that all these investments are going away. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of babies are being thrown out with bathwater right now. Clearly, look at what Trump's doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that the average voter, in their like tiniest little like dream, would have imagined that this is what, like, the whole time Trump was saying, I don't believe in Project 2025, and lying to the public about that, and then all the right wing influencers were saying the same thing. This is crap. What are you talking about? And then right after, he won. They were all the influencers were out there, all the Republican influencers were out there on Twitter being like, okay, now that the election's over, we could admit that this is the plan, right? And Trump, of course, fucking implemented it.
Yeah.
Whole cloth. So like it like the wisdom of the crowd that the system needed to undergo significant change and is very important. But also it's important to understand that Trump lied about the basics of his agenda to the
He
public.
did. And I think that the important thing to remember is that an average person, like a swing voter that was like an Obama, Trump, or even Trump, Biden, or whatever they are that switched, they think about politics for 4 minutes a week,
Yeah,
right? Like I'm lucky if I get through 10 minutes without thinking about politics for 4 minutes, and
yeah.
like and you know, which is like it's like fucking mind virus stuff, but like at the same time,
We're both
a,
infected.
I know it's like that's where people are, right? And like they don't want like they just want to get along with people. They just want to go to the little league games. They just want to like do all these other things. They don't want it to be this way, where we're always at war with one another. But they want hope for the future. And like, so how are we offering that?
Yeah, totally. um,
That is the question.
that is the operating question that we need to decide, isn't it?
Yeah, and we got to offer more than like we believe in the American dream or whatever it is, and like these like platitudes and like going after Republicans for them destroying things. Because
Yeah.
like yeah, the American like that's great, but I don't think Americans believe in the American dream right now, or at least young people don't.
There needs to be a
Uh,
new dream. A new dream
there
needs
needs
to
to
be
be a
defined
new
right now.
dream, right? And like one like that people can buy into, and what's that vision, right? And like that's where we have to go and like what like I mean I don't necessarily have the answer for it right now, but like
Well, I know what millennials want. I'm not a member of another generation, but I can tell you what millennials want. And what
yeah.
millennials want is to live on a commune and pick strawberries. They would be very happy never having a 401k as long as they got to pick and eat strawberries and like play with their children and make craft beer. That's what millennials want. It has very little to do with economic activity. I think the thing that has to change is the expectations that people are going to work harder and harder and harder and harder, and therefore our economy will grow. And
Yeah, it's empty.
people have to get comfortable with the idea that the American dream is chilling, uh, and like hanging out in the woods a little bit and not like producing enough to make sure that you live and not much more than that. That's the average person wants. That's the average person deserves. We should not be in a situation where we're forcing the average person into more and more and more productivity. That's what leads to revolution. Political
Mhm.
stability happens when people live calm, quiet, happy lives. That's what we want.
They go to the little league games.
Yeah, exactly.
They like, talk about Billy's like, on base percentage.
No,
Or like
this
I
is,
got softball practice tonight. Like I'm pretty stoked
yeah,
about
exactly. You, of
uh,
course, you are because your kids are awesome and you want to spend time with them. And
most of the time,
what's
yeah.
and what's the thing that's keeping you from spending time with your kids? The need to work and
Yeah, they need to work.
keep up with all the chug of the economy. Well,
Yeah, like drive, ambition, all those things. Like what are those things? And like how do you balance the two? And
ego
yeah,
driven shit, right?
ego driven shit, right?
Right.
And it's not that like we want to have like we don't want to do anything anymore, and America's just
No.
going to be like peace. Because like like the work gives you value, and like engaging in it gives you a sense of self that's really important.
Yes,
Um,
that's
and
right.
like
Picking
and what
strawberries can feel like a real career.
no, it can. It
Yeah.
can. I do, but I do think I think there is a real value in work and doing something that gives you meaning, whether that's picking strawberries, being an influencer,
Yeah.
being like a private equity guy, whatever it is. But like, and I just remember at the end of the day, nobody says on their deathbed, "I wish I worked more."
Nobody. Nobody says that. And I think that's really telling. And I think the current group of oligarchs are people who are captured by their own ego in that they want to drive more and more and more and more and more and more activity, and they see that in themselves and they admire it about themselves. and they want to force that paradigm on everyone else and think that they are superior to everyone else because they are highly productive. And I think that expectations and a reputational mismatch with reality is what is all that needs. It's a very simple thing. Investors are going to end up losing a lot of money as their investments turn out to be nothing, and a lot of these companies are going to end up, you know, taken away from people who have high expectations for future returns and put into the hands of custodians, and then who don't have a lot of and then investor like we're gonna have an expectations reset. I don't know when this is gonna happen, but it's happening, right? And that's what's gonna put an end to all of this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Inevitable.
I do. I mean, like, I mean, like all the uncertainty and everything is giving me like hardcore argita.
That's
The
right, and they're like that's what's happening right now is uncertainty, uncertainty after chaos after uncertainty, and like people are gonna like you give us a couple more a couple more years of this, people are gonna be people are gonna be sick of
Yeah, it's like
it.
chaos, corruption, crime, all those things.
Yeah,
Like that's what the world we live in, and like I don't know, like my ADHD brain loves chaos in some ways, but like not
yeah,
this type, right? Like not not this, and like what like I don't want my kids feeling fear about what's going
no,
on, and like
no,
all this other stuff, and I don't want the chaos that's affecting me to transplant to other people I care about. So um
yes. I don't want my daughter to have an anxiety disorder, and I'm sure that she like literally 100% of other kids are developing one right now,
yeah, well, it's
basically.
like the anxious generation, like the book that's like super popular amongst parents right now.
Mm.
And I mean, it's just like kids are really, really anxious because I mean, like
Because of Elon
all the
Musk.
information that's out there. I mean, when I was like 11 years old, like I watched Tom and Jerry, the Flintstones, and like maybe if I was lucky, I watched Saved by the Bell, like these old shoes on like shows, and like I like there wasn't infinite information out there, right? And like that's overwhelming to kids. And so a lot of everything is overwhelming. Everything is scary. And like, parents are like all working, trying to make like ends meet, like working three jobs to like,
We're all gonna end up with high blood pressure in our 60s. I mean, it's just like it's inevitable.
the hypertension and everything. And like, cause
Yeah,
like everything's a freaking stress case.
it's all stress on purpose, right? Like look at this return to office shit that Elon's doing. It's like, no, you can't have a balanced life with your family at home. No, you can't. You must put yourself through traffic every day, and you must subject yourself to the environment that I create in the office that purposefully makes you feel pressure and stress in order to motivate you to extract more out of you. That I want to be able to control your environment so that you feel more stress on purpose for my own gain and your loss.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. So
No.
like
And
are we okay with that? Are we okay with Elon Musk telling us that he's going to put more stress on our bodies on purpose? No.
no, no. Like who did like, and then like, it's like, okay, like, well, what are the unintended consequences that we didn't like? Okay, like disabled vets that were able to like, work and be a part of things because getting around is hard. Like those are people that are heroes.
Yeah.
Like they've given everything to this country. I We should make it as easy as possible for them to contribute, right? Like those are the things that were sort of the baby with the bathwater and the unintended consequences
Yeah.
um that like we're giving up. And like I want to be in America where whoever wants to contribute can.
Yeah. Oh, this has been an interesting conversation. I feel like we've gotten even deeper this time than we usually do, which has been good.
Yeah, it's been some vulnerability and all that good stuff. But
Trump is really doing a bad job. I mean, like it's easy for me to just say like, oh, like as a Democrat, like, oh, I'm going to attack Trump. No, like this is like really bad
yeah, it's
what he's
great.
done.
It
It's like it's you cannot look at this. It's like it's just so obvious that it's like his presidency is being run by somebody else. Like just leave that by itself. Like all right. All right, cool.
Yeah. These are a little fucking flipboard of like miscalculated tariffs and like the fucking penguins in the Falklands. They're going down. Like he tariffed like an island that is like 99.9% penguins and like one guy, Carl, who lives on like a shack that like sells penguin fur or whatever the hell.
Carl's like, fuck, I got a 30% tariff put just on me.
Like, oh my god, like no more penguin slippers. And no one's gonna buy the penguin slippers.
And on that note, on the penguin slippers note, thanks everybody who watched, and see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, bye y'all.